What's up, guys? My name is John Evans. I am actually the coach of the highest jumper in the world, Isaiah Rivera. He has a 50.5-inch vertical. And today I'm going to be talking to you guys about lever systems. Now, the reason why I'm doing this is because there's a lot of misinformation out there on the internet regarding sports science, training information, anything related to training. And that goes for bodybuilding, to powerlifting, to weightlifting, to track and field. I see it across the board. And so today I wanted to go ahead and start a new series where I'm going to basically be teaching you guys the basics of anatomy and physiology, biomechanics, exercise physiology, all things related to high performance. And I'm going to call this just Athlete University. It's going to be applicable to coaches, to athletes, people that just want to get better at their craft and want to learn more. And that's going to be the focus of this. So today, like I said, we are going to be covering the lever system. And the reason why this is so important is it dictates all of human movement. Every single muscle in the human body, every single bone, every single tendon and ligament is basically underpinned by this idea that locomotion is created through a lever system. So as you guys know, a lever system, or you may not know, a lever system is made up of an axis, a lever, and then forces. And that is, a joint, a lever, and different types of forces. So you have a load force, which would be like your center of mass, or you might have an effort, which is basically your muscle's ability to generate force. So everything in the human body, like I said, is underpinned by this general, theory or law of human movement. And you can even see it here in this example of the ankle and the calf and Achilles. So we have a muscle, a tendon, and a bone. And those are the three components. So the muscle is going to function as the prime mover, or the thing that is generating a force that is going to move this lever system. We have a joint and a tendon. The tendon's function is to connect the muscle to the bone, and then we have the bone, which actually functions as the lever in this analogy, or in this in the human body. So the first thing, like I said, is that muscles always contract. They're always going to shorten, and that is going to create a positive movement against gravity. So as humans, the thing we're trying to overcome, or the load we're trying to overcome when we're looking at locomotion, is gravity, right? So gravity is this acceleration downward. It generates a force that our body has to overcome to move. This goes from picking something up, to projecting our body across space, to throwing a ball, to jumping. And this is done through the lever system that is the skeletal system. So you guys can see here in this example, we have someone just holding a weighted ball. We can see that this is the upper arm. We have the bicep functioning to shorten, and on the other side we have a muscle lengthening, which we'll get into in another episode. But for this, we're just going to focus on the muscle, the bone, the joint, and the tendon. And basically, the first piece of this is going to be the muscle. Most important thing to remember is that muscles always contract when moving the lever system or moving in a positive direction. Contract means to shorten, right? The next thing is the tendon. The tendon is responsible for connecting the muscle to the bone. Now, tendons can stretch, they can deform and store energy, but we're not going to get into that yet because it is a more complex topic, and I'll cover that another time. But all you need to remember is that the tendon's function is to transmit force from the muscle to the bone, all right? And then lastly, bones form the levers with joints. So as you can see here, we have a basic fundamental lever system, right? In the human body, what you have is a joint, or any joint that you have, whether it's your elbow joint, your shoulder joint, your cervical spine, your hip, anything, that is this joint. And then we have this lever. So the lever is the long bones of the human body commonly, but it's every bone. Every single bone, every single movement you do is because those levers are moving with a muscular force, which is represented by this arrow, against an external force, which again is going to be the mass of our body or an object that we're moving, represented by this stone. So if we want to move our body, i.e. this stone, then we need to generate a force. And that force is generated via the muscle. And we generate that force to the bone, represented by this wood plank via the tendon connecting the muscle to the bone. All right. So this is the last slide actually, guys, and this is Usain Bolt sprinting. And the concept that I want you guys to understand is that muscles have a anchor point on two sides of a bone, right? Or each side of the muscle. Sorry. So the first side is going to be the origin, and that's the anchor point. And then you have an insertion, which is the opposite side of the muscle. So in our picture over here, right, we have the insertion down here. So you can see here's the muscle. This is your calf. The origin is anchored up here. And we have the insertion down here. Now, the most important thing you need to remember about the lever system and the muscle is that when it contracts or shortens, the insertion always moves towards the origin. So I'll say that again. When a muscle contracts, the insertion always moves towards the origin. So every muscle has an origin and an insertion. When a muscle contracts, the insertion moves towards the origin. So in this example, we have the insertion down here at the calcaneus, which is the bone in this lever system. And when this muscle contracts, right, what will happen is it shortens, i.e. this insertion will move towards the origin, right? As a result, this will plantar flex, your ankle will plantar flex, and you will allow for movement. Now we'll go to another example. We have the bicep here, right? In this example, the insertion is actually going to be on the radial tuberosity, which is on the radius, and that is where the bicep inserts, and the origin is going to be up here on the scapula, right? And so when the bicep contracts, what happens is it shortens, right? As a result, the insertion, which is down here, moves towards the origin, which is up here. That is how we are able to rotate at the elbow joint and allow for movement. So when you're doing a bicep curl or anything else, this is what is occurring. All right, so in this analogy, when we're bringing this all together and we're talking about athletes and athleticism, here we have Usain Bolt sprinting, right? This is where he is doing work via the muscles contracting, and it's propelling his body via this lever system. So we have the long bone here, the tibia and the fibula. We have the long bone here of the femur, and then that connects to the pelvis, which is up here. So these arrows represent the insertion, which is this point right here, moving towards the origin, which is represented by the end of this arrow. So in this example, right, we have the insertion, like we showed previously, of the calcaneus, or your heel, moving towards the origin, which is where the calf crosses up here on the femur, if you're talking about the gastroc. That allows for plantar flexion, which we see, which is where you're going up on your toe, and that allows for movement. We also see it here at the knee, right? The insertion, which is going to be, in this case, the patella, the tibial tuberosity, or the part of the tibia, which is the bone. You can also talk about it being related to the quadricep tendon, which is what I drew here. So we have the quadricep tendon connecting to this, the insertion on that bony protuberance of your patella, what we call the superior portion of it, is insertion moving towards the origin. And so that muscle of your quadricep originates up here on your ASIS, which is a part of your pelvis, if we're talking about the rectus femoris, anterior superior iliac spine. And when that happens, our knee extends. So you see this push-off phase. So his quadricep is contracting, he's extending the knee, and that's propelling him forward via the lever system. And then lastly, we have the glute, and these are the triple extensors. So we have the calf, plantar flexing, right, pushing off. We have the knee, which is extending, happening here, and then we also have the hip, which is extending. So remember, this is all muscle shortening, moving the lever system, and propelling us, right, in this case, Usain Bolt, down the track. So the hip, and you can't really see it because it's shown on this side, but it's actually going to be the other hip, his left hip in this picture, is going to be shortening. So the glute is going to insert on the femur, on the back side of the femur, and then it originates on the top of your pelvis. So it crosses the joint, that is your hip joint, and allows you to move across space by contracting. That is how the lever system works. So that's how Usain Bolt is pushing himself down the track. His spine is not really moving that much. It's not angulating that much. It might a little bit. His arms are moving, and those are also lever systems. But mostly, he's getting all of that propulsion through this explosive triple extension happening through his leg, all right? So that is the basics of the lever system. Remember the three components. We have a bone, we have a tendon, we have a muscle, and then I guess the fourth you could say is the joint, right? So, or maybe a better way to say it is we have the musculotendinous unit, the muscle and the tendon, we have the bone, and we have the joint. And to allow for movement, the muscle has to shorten. That is transmitted through the tendon into the bone. That joint angulates, and then you will see movement. But that's the video, guys. This is just a fundamental, basic understanding of the lever system. If you have questions, please comment in the comment section below. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys tomorrow, where we will discuss a little bit more about how muscles function in isometric, concentric, and eccentric muscle contractions. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you tomorrow.